Elkhorn Peak Cellars. We're in South Napa and Jamison Canyon, and it's a small family farm business with my father and myself. So we wear many hats like Rebecca. We're in the Napa AVA, and we're just east of Carneros. In Jamison Canyon, it's a 6-mile stretch along Highway 12, and it's a beautiful spot. It's got a lot of rolling hills.
Coombsville is a place that my folks found well before it was an AVA, back in '92. They purchased 20 acres of just open, undeveloped property. And Coombsville sits, like you said, just east of the town of Napa, so it's really close to, all the wonderful things that the town of Napa has to offer. But it is definitely rural and remote, abuts Skyline Park on one end, Mount George on the other, and sits up against some rolling hills behind us and creates some beautiful wines. We got our AVA approval in 2011. I was part of the team of people, it couldn't happen by just one person, that got that AVA approval and started Coombsville Vintners and Growers. So it's a place where I get to live, work, play, and I have a little bit of affinity to it.
Save the Family Farms was started 3 years ago by Bill Wolf, Paul Maroon, and Terry Scott. Terry Scott was a former planning commissioner in Napa, and Bill Wolf and Paul Maroon are vintners in Napa. And they sort of came to their planning commissioner and they said, hey, we're having a really tough time here. The market conditions have changed. Distribution is no longer a viable channel for anybody out here producing less than maybe 10,000 cases. And so you have this entire group of small growers, most of them are small family farms, who can't make it. We can't have access to direct to consumer. And as markets have evolved, direct to consumer is king, and you can't make it without direct to consumer. Terry Scott was still on the Planning Commission at that time, but when he retired, he came back to Bill Wolf and Paul Maroon, and they started Save the Family Farms. My father knows Bill Wolf really well. They actually worked to change some legislation back in 2005 at the state level. So Bill came back to my father joined the group, and the group sort of groundswelled from there. Rebecca joined shortly after. And our mission is very simple. We are in the business to keep family farms viable for future generations. I have the personal feeling that big business and small business can coexist harmoniously. There's no reason. There is some issues at the government level. The WDO, the Winery Definition Ordinance, sort of put into place in 1991 that you must have vineyards in order to have a production facility, and you must have a production facility in order to host guests on site, which was fine. It really helped shape Napa Valley the way we see it today. But unfortunately, the WDO did not have the foresight to see market conditions 30, 40 years down the road. So when everyone got started, my family included, we were in the distribution channel for many, many years. In 2008, with the major consolidation of the distribution channel, our business channel evaporated. So all of a sudden, we were in a position where we were making wine with absolutely no way to sell it. So we went to the county and we said, hey, if DTC is king, we need to build a winery on site to have access. And they put the paperwork in front of us, and you start at 20,000 gallons, and the cost is around $10 million. And if you can't do it, sell your farm. And that was just. For a while, a lot of small farmers were doing tastings under the radar or just finding creative ways to make it work. And that was okay, I guess, for a little while. But I think in around 2014, the county really started to crack down on compliance. And they started fining these small growers $20,000 and taking their liquor license away if they were caught doing illegal tastings on site. So me and my father went back to the county in 2016 to plead our case. Look, we really need access here. $10 million in a 20,000 gallon facility is not feasible. We make 2,000 gallons of wine. We use a custom crush facility. Help us out. No can do. So we started Save the Family Farms. And what we're trying to do is work with the county to establish these minimum thresholds to build a winery. If you go in today, they're going to tell you the smallest winery you should apply for is 20,000 gallons. I don't know why they're saying that. There's no legal reason that 20,000 gallons is a minimum threshold.
That sounds arbitrary.
It's, I think, quite frankly, more financially a financial threshold, right? Because it's so expensive, because it's so time consuming. And the newer wineries that are coming in, the bigger wineries, and the residents of Napa, when they have issues with new wineries, they're more worried about a cap, right? How do we keep them under so many gallons? How do we keep them under so much visitation? Yeah. And we are an entity, as a small family farms, that they didn't consider, right? So much like the WDO didn't have the foresight, the opportunity to make wine as a small vintner through the alternating proprietorship way or custom crush was not that big of a thing, right? They didn't have mobile bottling. So the minimums were never set. It was very arbitrary. Sure. And so because of the financial obligation, 20,000 gallons seemed to be like this break-even moment. What then that left out a significant, as you know, having met so many vintners over the years, that leaves out a significant number of us folks that are under 20,000 gallons. That's a lot of wine.
We've been very fortunate when we tell our story. We've been able to articulate it so well that there are people out there sympathetic to our cause. And when you do ask the question point blank like that, why can't I continue my family business in Napa Valley without $10 million? It's a story that many people understand. So we've been very fortunate in that a lot of land use attorneys have donated an hour of their time, 2 hours of their time. We've been able to meet with the Board of Supervisors many, many times. The Director of Planning and Building has met with us. I've met with the Fire Chief Examiner. I mean, we are really doing our homework. We've read all of these ordinances front to back, and we're going in and asking the county very specific questions to help us build a reasonable ordinance. We're trying to call it the micro winery ordinance, so that farmers and small family farms without access to land use attorneys and consultants can have access to live and do business in Napa Valley like they've done for generations.
And it's also why so many of the well-established large producers in this valley, some very notable folks stand behind us and have come out vocally and supported us. And they said, that's where we started. So how can you cut off the start of the next whatever or not the next whatever? Everyone always asks me, do you want to grow and do you want to become this, 50, 60,000 gallon production facility? And my answer is no, that I just want to continue my family business. I want it to be viable. I want to be able to share it with friends and family. I want to be able to have my children learn about it if they're interested to return. I don't want to have to tell my kids they can't do this.